Let's talk. Yeah. Today we got the superintendent, Dr. Anna Stubblefield, here with us. How you doing?
I'm good. It's Monday. We all breathing. I'm good.
Okay. It's a pleasure and it's a privilege and an honor to have you on. Just want to let you know that. And I'm glad to be here. See if we can ask you some questions and see if you can give us some good answers.
Okay, and if I don't have the information, I'll get it back to you. But more than likely, hopefully I can answer them.
Okay. Cool. Sounds cool. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Anna Stubblefield. My husband is David Stubblefield, and I have 3 sons. One who will be 30, one who will be 25. Their birthdays are in April. Then my youngest, who is 18. So soon to be a empty nester, which is kind of scary. I've been I always seriously say I was adopted by the DOT in the early 90s, late 80s. Because my adoptive mom was from Wyandotte County, and introduced me to all things Wyandotte County at that time. She was my basketball coach.
Basketball player.
Yep, former basketball player, former track runner, but she introduced me to Kansas City, Kansas and Wyandotte County. Although I graduated from high school in Kansas City, Missouri, was completely immersed in integrated here at that time. Been in education for about 25 years now, maybe more than that. My numbers may be off. But started my career in Center School District as a special education teacher, then went to Blue Valley as an assistant principal, and then the last spent about 6 years in Blue Valley as assistant principal. In the last 13 years prior to coming to Kansas City, Kansas, I was in Lawrence Public School, and there I was a principal, director of HR, assistant superintendent, deputy superintendent, and for 1 year I served as interim superintendent. So that's kind of my educational and family background in a nutshell.
All right. Well, it sounds like you did a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, my goal is always to leave whatever place or whatever I'm a part of better than what I found it. That's not always easy, but that's always my intention, is to, and to make it for the next person coming in that is not like they have a foundation to build off of versus like starting from scratch and trying to understand. And honestly, every place that I've left, still to this day, I will be welcomed back. So I feel like I must have done that.
Yes. You burn no bridges.
I didn't burn any bridges.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
Now I follow your son Grant on Twitter and stuff. So I see he's a big time football player.
Yes.
And basketball player. They just won state championship at Blue Valley Northwest.
They did. Yes.
6A.
Yes.
So then you said you played sports. Now, did he get that game from you?
I have evidence that he got it from me. I did do like 23andMe, and I joke about this, but it is for real. I do have a gene that they said elite athlete. Now, I myself was like a pretty average athlete, but I had a gene that they said they find an elite athlete. So I think I passed it on. My husband actually too, he's from Dodge City, born and raised there, but we met in our first teaching job. But he played.
So he's a teacher too?
He's the assistant superintendent in Shawnee Mission School District. Nice. But educator as well. But he and his family are also very athletic. He was the quarterback at Dodge City High School. He's always talking about Dodge City, so I'm just giving that plug. But he actually played receiver at formerly Southwest Missouri State, I think is now Missouri State. So he played football. So he probably got it from both of us, but I take all the credit.
I figured you would take the credit.
I take the credit.
The credit, though.
Yeah.
Well, you say you do big things. Do you have any big plans for the USD 500?
Now, I said I like to leave places better than what I found them. If your interpretation is big things, that is fine. I do have, honestly, big ideas, lots of dreams, and really trying to lay that foundation for USD 500. Our goal, last year we established a big goal of by 2031 that 100% of the students that graduate from any Kansas City, Kansas public schools would graduate with a diploma plus. And a lot of people who've been in Kansas City have heard about the Diploma Plus program, but what I was finding is, a lot of people thought it was just for a few kids. It's for all of our kids. So what we're doing now is building out those pathways and those experience for all of our students. And right now, in about 50% of our students graduate with a Diploma Plus. So we have a plan, every year we need to increase by like about 6% to get to the 100% by 2031. And there is a possibility that we can get there before 31, but it's really to make sure that all of our students, like if they are on the college path, that they're leaving with a college credit. And so many.
So that's what a Diploma Plus is?
That's one avenue. You can, you can actually earn your associate's degree while you're in high school, and we pay for it. Or, to make sure that you have the support or whatever you need to score a 21 or higher on the ACT. I can't remember what the SAT number is, but making sure that we're providing those supports, those kids can accomplish that, or to leave with some sort of certificate or licensure in an area that they may have interest in, from cosmetology to welding to if they want to be an electrician, and also or paid internships where they are making connections with companies that will hire them. We have I know I talked to one young man the other day, he was at a fair, a company is hiring him, and they will pay for him to get whatever training or college, and they just want him to be a part of that. So really making sure that when our students leave here, they leave with those additional things that so many other students in the community leave. And also building out, because those pathways and those experiences also exist in our athletics and our activity program. And one of the things you mentioned was my son, and my son is graduating, but as a parent, I've got to see up close the opportunities that are out there for our students who, if that's where their talents and interests lie, that making sure that we're giving those supports and structures that all of our students may not have access to for a variety of reasons, but how do we build that into that so that our kids have that competitive advantage in those supports that kids like my son have in other districts. So all of our kids deserve that. So on the athletic and the activity side, we'll also start to focus on that, while it is not an or for me. It's not academics or athletics or activities. It's an and, because that's how you really help kids reach their full potential, by tapping into where they want to lean in and excel. Yeah.
And it was good to hear you say that too, talking about the kids can get a trait, because every kid's not going to go to college or want to go to college. They want to be able to, do something else. And that was good hearing you say that, helping them get a trait and have the same opportunities that they have out there in that district in Wyandotte County too.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing too is from when you took over the district, what do you see it at now? As far as are you happy with the progress that's going forward right now? Is the plan that you put in place on the right track?
So where we were a year ago today, we're in a better place today than we were a year ago. Now, depending on who you are, people have different experiences and different perspectives, but as a system, we're in a better place than we were. And we're laying the foundation to make sure that families and students know how to access the information that we're putting out. And then really trying to respond to what people are sharing with their experience. For example, just to be fully transparent, in the last couple of weeks, I've gotten questions around our homework policy, like the criteria for admitting students to Sumner, and like new programs we're bringing on, like Avid. So when I hear that, one, I also always try to make sure I'm sharing, like, here's what we're doing, but it's also an opportunity for us to take a step back and to say, hey, they may be saying, they're offering a perspective, one, that we may not have considered. So how do we unpack that? I really try to lead with yes and yes always doesn't mean that exactly what you're asking for, that's what you're going to get, but at least yes, I hear you, and what's the outcome that you're trying to get to, and here's how we can get there, or if we can't do that, here are what the opportunities are. So as a district as a whole, I would say I feel like we're in a much not in much, but we have made progress. But depending on, some people may have a different opinion, but I do want to hear from them, because we may be missing something that's hugely important to them. At least we can have the dialogue. So we'll continue to do that and offer spaces for people to reach out to us. There's a link on the website. If you go to, it's like Your Voice Heard, and it comes directly to me. I may not be the person who responds directly, but I connect them with whom they need to be connected with, so that they can get the information or their concerns addressed. And so that's one way that, like, if you don't know where to go, you can send it directly to me, and we'll get you to the right person and follow up and make sure that somebody has followed up with you.
How long does a follow-up usually take for something like that?
Typically, if it comes to me today, we'll get it to somebody by tomorrow. Like, we try to have a 24-hour to 48-hour response. It doesn't mean that it's going to be resolved, but at least somebody's reaching out to you to say, hey, let's connect, let's meet, let's do whatever. Yeah, okay. But a response within 48 hours is typically what we try. No more than 48 hours. Yeah.
Right. Well, I have a question on the teachers. Are we still lacking teachers in the USD 500?
We are lacking teachers in the United States of America. But honestly, in US, like in this greater metropolitan area, the two districts that probably have the most openings are Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, for a variety of reasons. But we will be better off next year. A piece of data that I just heard was that we've had 45 teachers who resigned. We've hired 26 teachers already.
Was that this year or last year?
For next year, going into next year. Like, people retire, or they're moving, or they're going to other districts for whatever reason. So we are being intentional about that. We
trying to stay ahead of the curve.
And I don't like to give guarantees, but I feel like we will have fewer openings next school year than we've had in the last 3 years.
What about pay rate for the teachers? How do you determine how much they get paid, and where does that come from?
So the teachers have a bargaining unit called the KNEA, and we just started negotiations.
What is the KNEA for those who don't know?
The Kansas National Education Association, I believe, is what it stands for, and it's the union within the district that both teachers and paraeducators and others are a member of. Their president is Don DeRosa. So each year we engage in negotiations around salary, and that's how the salary.
Can the community come together and do anything to help the pay raise come out, as far as those meetings or anything?
Not really, because I mean, you could show support to the board or the union, or the board and the union, but everything happens at the table. We are in Kansas City, Kansas. While we're not the highest in the metropolitan area, we're not the lowest. We're very competitive. Okay. And what a lot of people don't know, for specific areas like special education, we give additional pay and stipends and things, so that makes us more competitive. The last 2 years, we've given a retention bonus. So anybody who stays with us this upcoming year, if they're still with us, right now, like if they're hired before the end of May, so anybody who's planning to come work for us, if you're hired before May, between August of 23 and August of 24, you will be eligible for a $6,000 retention bonus. So it'll be given in 3 segments, and it doesn't matter what role you're in. Everybody is eligible for that $6,000. So $2,000 in August, $2,000 in December, and $2,000 the next August. Gotcha. And we have some one-time money that came through ESSER that we are intentionally putting into trying to recruit and retain. So all of our hourly wages, the lowest rate is $15 an hour. So if you're not like our what we call our certified staff, and that's those who are covered under the teachers union master agreement. That varies by position. I believe our starting salary for teachers, don't quote me, I think it's 46.5, almost 47. But we're in negotiation, so that should go up because we'll come to some agreement around that. But on the classified hourly size, like if you the minimum starting rate is $15 an hour, and our board made that change last year, just so if you're in this area, you're at least having a livable wage to start out with. And that's assuming you don't have any experience in whatever
Really?
that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's kind of something that you said earlier, community. Is there a plan to, because you know it takes a village.
Yes.
You know, is there a plan to build more community support?
Yes. So I myself last year had several listening and learning tours that were launched by me as the superintendent. This year, the board had one in March, their first one, and they're having another one in April to get community feedback around some specific topics. One of the things that's a goal of mine next year is really, like Lawrence is smaller than KCK, so when I was there, we had like a superintendent advisory group, and you could pick people. This is so big that one of the things that I plan to implement next year is to find community spots where I can go out and we can just come and talk. There are some specific groups that have reached out to me that I've sat down with and have some regular ongoing meetings with. But as I, I'm not drinking from a fire hydrant. It's still a fire hydrant. It's turned down a little bit.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I want to do next year is make myself more accessible for opportunities like this. So I appreciate you having me on your podcast. But going to where people may hang out, like at a restaurant or the library or wherever, like where people are like, hey, and then we can just come and have conversations. Now, I wouldn't be able to talk specifically about any employees or anything like that or anybody's student, but we can have general things and people can give me things that have you thought about this and consider that. So if there are community groups or organizations, I've been to several different every places from churches to like Kiwanis and Rotary clubs. If I can find a space in my schedule, I'm always willing to come out and listen and learn, and where I can offer some perspective.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna change the subject a little.
Okay.
This is about shootings and stuff that's been occurring.
Yeah.
Now, do we have any protocols just around here that can ensure us that something like, I know you pretty much can't ensure us, but do we have any actions in play in case something like that does kind of happen?
We do. We have our crisis. Every school, every location has a crisis plan. That internally we all know what it is. We don't advertise it. One of the things, good, bad, or indifferent, all of our high schools have metal detectors with KCKPS, Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. We have our own police department. So all of our high schools have armed police on site, as well as our middle schools. And then we have patrols or people connected. We don't have those things on site in our elementaries, but we have a plan where people can respond pretty quickly in our elementary. So we have those like visual things. We also have the Enough is Enough initiative, where we really try to, and the Enough is Enough initiative is really like an anti-violence coalition that was started because there were several shootings involving our students a couple of years ago, and that was before I was here. But this year they launched, or may have been in place before, but they have their student advisory board, and they're giving them feedback on how do we engage our students to help them make better choices so that they're not the ones that doing it. And we also at our high schools, and in some of our middle and elementaries, but we know all of our high schools have been through restorative justice training. And anytime you're doing stuff like that, it takes a couple of years before to become like a part of who you are and part of your culture. But we are really trying to invest in the preventive side. And we ask, like, you see it in community campaigns all the time. If you see something, say something, report it anonymously, because collectively we can have all those things in place, but we all got to take care of one another. If you think your friend or somebody is a little off or they've said something, it's better to be safe than sorry. And it's unfortunate. And within the last week, I think I've heard of 2 school shootings, which is
one a day,
in Nashville, and then last week I know of the one in Denver. But it's unfortunate that those things just it's like a regular thing now. So what I often say is we really, while we're doing all of these things and putting things in place, we really need to be having a conversation around what's happening with our youth or with those who are doing these things that are leading to those, so that we can unpack the why in order to try to prevent it in the future.
Yeah, one more question. Now, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about this, but has there ever been a discussion where teachers maybe can have a gun in their classroom to kind of protect them if things went too far?
That has not been a discussion internally. Like there are all of our buildings in Kansas are like a no gun zone except for police. So we have not talked about that. But that, you're right, people don't talk about it, and people have different perspectives on it. It's a little controversial.
Yes.
Like on one side, you're thinking they can protect themselves when somebody come in. Another perspective is they have this gun, and if they shoot it because they think somebody going left, then that creates a whole nother dynamic. So it's a lot of different layers to that, right, wrong, or indifferent, that we have not talked about that here.
What about cameras in classrooms?
We had that whole discussion. Did you miss it? I'm teasing you. But there was a whole thing, like we presented a plan, and we were presenting it for educational reasons. But, once a lot of the feedback, and there was a pause pushed on it. We have cameras in like all of our common spaces in our halls and stuff, so we have that. And we were talking about it from an educational standpoint for a couple of reasons. One, to address the fact that there's a shortage of teachers across the United States. And so like if you teach math, but I'm missing a math teacher over here, while you're teaching a lesson, the kids over here can have a local, highly qualified teacher that they possibly can have access to, that is teaching a lesson, and we can pay you extra money. But the underlying layer that we didn't really unpack on the front end or get a chance, because it was a conversation that was happening before I got here, was like, one, then teachers feel like they're heavily being surveillance, and kids feel like they've been watched, and honestly some people were like, then our schools feel like prison. So there are some, there are like pros and cons, but that was something we pushed pause on. What we will have are cameras in specific spaces that can be distance learning spaces to accomplish that. And then there are cameras in like all of our halls and things like that. But we are looking at some other security measures, so stay tuned. They're not cameras, but we are looking at what are some additional layers that we can add to give our staff and our students a sense of security.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think too, as we continue to talk, coming off that students and the guns in the school and stuff, I think mental health is really, really a big issue in this country, period, right now. Is there any programs in place as far as mental health with students? Oh,
absolutely. And so all of our schools, we teach SEL, which is social emotionally learning. We, in most of our schools, at least one day a week, and on the Wednesdays, that time during what we call FA or family advocacy is focused on, teaching that social emotionally learning and addressing the mental health of our students. Our board have invested heavily in counselors and social workers, so for our students can have access to it. We also partner with several community organizations to provide additional mental health support for our families, like through PACES and those kind of things, who may need it. We also used some of our ESSER dollars, and it's one of the things that we definitely want to continue. Both Sligo and Harmon have after-hour clinics. I think they are 3 to 6 on Tuesday and Thursday. that's the wrong time. If you contact somebody, they can tell you that students can access the mental health support that they need. But we are intentional about that. We continue to evaluate, like, how can we do that? But not only our mental health of our students, we think about our staff as well. So we have to think about, like, how do we help support the mental health and make sure that people have access to the mental health supports that they need, regardless of what your role is. Like, it's a huge thing, and a lot of times when you are seeing these things, there were like red flags that either they had access or they didn't, or it wasn't there, that it really goes to a mental health issue. And some other, it's more, sometimes, a lot of times it's complex, but that's one thing that is, you find a common thread with a lot of it too.
Now, with some of these programs you just mentioned, is there a way to monitor to see how many kids are actually utilizing this? To
we collect the data. Tomorrow night at the board meeting, we'll give a report on the academic progress from third quarter, like discipline and all of that. But our student services department will hit on some of the things that we do, from like our programs around attendance, the preventive programs on drugs and some other things. But we collect all that data. What we're trying to work on now is creating a scorecard or dashboard. Hopefully we'll launch in August. So you, as a community member, like if the board goal around academics or mental health, you can click on it, see how we're collecting the data, and then see what the data is, like either on a quarterly or monthly basis. But behind the scenes, we're putting that together. So then if you're looking at it and you're like, hey, this program looked like it's really helping kids at this level, are you guys going to do it here? Or we can talk about what we're doing at those levels. But really trying to be transparent about all of the programs and things that we spend money on, and making sure that we're controlling the variables, but also looking at our return on investment and looking at partnerships, because the kids are with us for so long, but then they go another place. So how do we the training that we're providing to our staff, provide in those spaces? If those community organizations don't have it, how do we open up our training and resources that other community partners may be able to access, or use the curriculum, or those kind of things? But we have to be creative around that.
Because it's good to say, because kids in this community, because I grew up in this community, they're under so much stress and stuff, because they can have to sometimes a student at school, but then have to go home and take care of a younger brother, or be a guardian at home, because maybe, for instance, their parents might have to work 1 or 2 jobs. So they get out of school, they're stressed, and they got to go home. They might have to prepare a meal for a little sister or a little brother, and that's tremendous amount of stress. And I think sometimes people forget how much stressful that some of these kids in this district in USD 500 go through.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the things I share when I have the opportunity, I share with people that I've been making adult decisions since I was about 11 or 12. And that's the reality of a lot of our students. I was blessed enough to have adults in my life that saw that wrapped around and provided those supports and structures, what you're talking about. And it wasn't because, I am in my, with my biological family, and I love my mom, she's passed on, but there were 8 of us. So we are you got to do what you got, get in where you fit in. And that is the real reality for so many of our students. And it's not that their parents don't love them, or it's just their reality, and everybody is doing the best that they can with what they have. And so we have to be cognizant of that when we are looking at our kids, and always see them for what they potentially can be, not what they may be in that moment that may be their worst moment or one of their worst moments, but always looking at them for the possibilities and the potentials of what they can become with the right supports and structure. And making sure that we are working with them on how to make situations right. You can hold them accountable. We can do what we need to do, but it does not mean we are giving up on them or throwing them away. So I think that's hugely important. It's important, and that's why you really have to lean on. We have to do this collectively as a community. and focus on what's going right, address those things. But there are some things that are out of our control, right?
Yes.
And so we just have to be real about that and make sure that we're listening to our students and providing the supports and structures and giving them the opportunity to grow and develop, but know that they're kids and they're going to make mistakes. And preferably they're not mistakes that just change their lives completely, but giving them an opportunity to make the situation right if they make some poor choices.
All right, I want to change the subject one more time.
Okay.
And this is about the schools around here. Well, the high schools, I just want to say. Will we ever knock any of them down and rebuild any new ones?
Hey, there's a whole facilities committee that started meeting, I think, at 4 o'clock.
About that?
The board did approve, not about knocking down high school. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. The board approved a facility master plan review. So they're looking at all of our facilities. Pretty soon there will be surveys that go out to our staff in here, but there are also at every school community, there will be a survey link that's out there.
They can hear our voices on this.
We'll hear your voices about, and then it'll be some structured questions about what do you like about it, where does there need improvement. I don't know all the questions, but so this process we started, they said 6 to 9 months. Our hope is that we'll have it back, all of the information from the surveys and an evaluation of our facilities by like early fall, so we can share that in the board report. But some surveys will be coming out later this spring that families at each of our elementary, middle, and high schools and our preschools can give feedback about that particular
issue
or facility. Yeah.
Okay. Now I noticed out west that they knocked down like several elementary schools and just combined them all into one. Will they do anything like that with the high schools, or will they? Is that what our voting stuff is about right now?
The survey is to get a idea. Like there's really no pre-plans like we're gonna knock down this, no. So it's really the whole purpose of this is to get the feedback to determine like
what should happen,
what's the strengths, where are the gaps, what are the opportunities of when you think about facilities and what we would like to see in the community.
Those middle school facilities, it's really it's good to look at them because we needed that. Those brand new middle schools, the buildings, because the buildings were old, the technology needed to be up to par. So I think the middle schools, I like the fact that not really that they did it because I'm a West Buffalo, so I always wanted West to still be there. But I get it. Is sometimes you have to upgrade facilities so we can still stay, current with what everything else is going on. I got as we get to the end of this, I've got a couple more. I know that there was a big problem with homeless students in the district. Is there still an issue with homeless students in this district?
Unfortunately, we do have students who are homeless. We have our McKinney-Vento program. Jessica Smith is the coordinator of that. So when we know that there are students that are unhoused, we have a lot of resources that we put in place and we work with those families. But that's one of those things that not just with this district, every district, that's one of those things, unfortunately, is across the country, but we have a team that works with those families to really make sure that they get the resources that they need and then all of the stuff that they need to be a successful student. Jessica Smith and her team work with the families to get them everything from transportation to access to food and clothing, and in some situations help them navigate and figure out housing or connect them with the organizations that can help their families.
Now, do the
students
usually come to you to find out? To tell you that they're homeless, or do you guys kind of find that out on your own?
Sometimes parents share, sometimes students. It comes from a variety of ways. Yeah.
Do you still send I know in some of the elementaries, I know you guys were doing that before. Are you still sending meals home, like canned
backpack
goods and
meals
stuff?
and those kind of things? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's beneficial to a lot of people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty all right on
okay. All right. So I'm gonna end it here, winding it down here, because you're a big lover of sports.
I am.
Play sports. there's some people that live in this district that think that the leaders in this district in sports don't care about sports in this district. There's been a lot of parents taking their kids to different districts so they can play sports because they feel like sports in USD 500 is down. But they, you hear that the people, they say, oh, that's running the district in sports. Maybe it's the athletic directors and all that. They don't care about sports like they used to because USD 500, those gyms, Wyandotte, Sligo, used to be packed.
On Friday
nights. If you didn't get to the JV game in a varsity basketball game, by halftime of the JV game, you wasn't getting in the game. And now, you see around the district where some of the girls' teams only have 4 or 5 players, and the boys' teams, the gyms aren't packed. Is that an issue that you guys are monitoring?
Yeah, it is. And that's been one of the things, regardless of whether it's myself or board members or whomever, when we've done the listening and learning, we've heard that. And we do, and as I said, like at the top of the show, that is something that's hugely important. And we are looking at that and wanting to start to build out and bring that KCK, Wyandotte County proud. Like, when I talk to the people who are like in our age bracket and are like, you're like, I'm a West, did you say Bulldog?
Buffalo.
Like a Buffalo, wherever it is, they like, I'm a Wyandotte Bulldog. Like that kind of pride we really want to bring back for our students across athletics and activities. And there are some things in the next couple of weeks and months you'll start to hear about, like even with our summer school programming, we are looking at the whole child, like and really providing opportunities for them to connect, to start to build that foundation, like targeting our younger kids, but also making sure we have opportunities for those who are in high school. We have some amazing athletes here, like in our schools, like Sumner, his basketball team, was this close to going, and I was at that game. But like building that foundation. And last year we did hire several, and I'm speaking about basketball because the basketball season just wrapped up. We did make some some opportunities opened up, and we feel like we hired some coaches that, are committed to building the programs throughout our high schools. Last year we did change our building athletic director position to make it an administrative position, just so they would have, some administrative experience and be able to put some things in place. And so we're continuing to look at that, and we'll continue to build it out both on the athletics and the activity side to address that need and to build those programs back up, so that you got to get there at the JV game, or at least, you got to make a plan to be there. You may not be able to get in. And that happened at Sumner in that sub-state game. Like they came to me and was like, we got to turn people away. I was like,
used to always be like that.
And see, that was every Friday. When Wyandotte was playing Sligo, that thing was Sligo and Washington. It was packed just like that. And just want to see it get back to that too. And I think some of the programs and the leaders in the district with the athletic programs kind of need to get more out in the community and start, getting feedback from some of these grassroots coaches and of this, that's doing the little leagues and get feedback and input how to build that back up again, because it's going to take everybody to build that program.
It's going to take us a collective effort. And we have to, continue to invest in our athletics and our activities so that families don't feel like they have to go somewhere else if that's what part of the experience they want their students to have. And that's not with this, like I said at the beginning, for me, it's not it's academics and activities and athletics, because that's the full experience for our students. And it's not like we're saying everybody's going to go pro. They may not, but that collective experience teaches them and provides a unique skill set that you don't get like in any other place.
Because I heard a story, and I don't know how true it is. I just heard a story that it was, even the transportation with the sports were, they had put the boys team and the girls team on the same school bus one time. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but is that some new thing that they're doing now to save money?
No. And to be fully transparent, it happened, but it was it was a miss. It was, no, I wouldn't say it was a misstep. It was like it was this tournament. It's far away. But that's not something that we are doing, and we corrected it after we were made aware of it moving forward, so that like there, as you're prepping your team and getting them focused, we get that. But if it did happen, it would be out of like, hey, we don't have enough bus drivers and that kind of thing. But it wouldn't be like intentionally, oh, you're going to the same spot, so you all get on the same bus.
Is the bus driver situation getting any better?
The bus driver situation is probably one of the most improved situations.
All right.
From where we started last year.
Okay.
Yeah. But hey, we're still hiring bus drivers, everybody. So look at our website. I'm gonna put in the plug. It's always great to have people.
Put the website on there. Tell them the website.
Yes, it's kckps.org. And if you go, I think it says like human resources or apply or work for us. There are several jobs there. Please apply. We always are looking for people who are connected to the community to be a part of USD 500.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Okay.
One more thing. Too, just on the sports. This is a gripe too, that some people say that the teachers get the first dibs on the coaching jobs. Maybe might not be as qualified as somebody that didn't coach. I mean, they don't teach in the school. There's a really good basketball coach. You think they'll be able to give more of those people looks?
So when you are not a employee, or there are certain credentials, so you can have Rule 10 coaches, and then if you have somebody that works for you, they're not a Rule 10. There are certain restrictions for Rule 10 coaches that if you are a teacher or employee that you don't necessarily have until you build up. So it's not necessarily they get first dibs. There's just some regulations and things that we have to follow. Okay. So
because I actually coached this like 2013 to 2017 as assistant varsity boys basketball coach and cross country.
Okay.
So
okay.
Well, as we wrap it up here and get out of here, first. We should have did this at first. Yes. I want to say congratulations on being the first black woman ever superintendent in USD 500.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It's great to have you in this district. Continue to keep doing big things. We're big supporters of you.
Oh, thank you.
And it's really good that kids in this community can see more people who look like them, to encourage them to say, oh, I can be a superintendent one day.
Oh, absolutely.
Or I can be a mayor one day.
Yes. Yeah.
So just congratulations, and like I said, we support you. And if you need anything from us, let us know.
Feel free to reach out.
Okay, thank you. So as we launch stuff, I'll reach out to y'all to put it on
You definitely can.
One last plug. We do have our summer learning program. People think summer school is for like if you didn't do well. It really is an enrichment program. It doesn't matter what you need. There are lots of opportunities in our elementary, a couple of them. In our middle schools, there's an opportunity to learn to swim. We'll have some athletic training.
Is this for high school students still to learn how to swim?
High school, we're going to put the swimming back in the schools during gym, so we're working on that. Last year, I think they did do some swimming, but I may be off on that. But high schools, we have paid internships. We have ACT prep courses. We have courses if you're just trying to get more credits so that you can knock them out. But go on our website. There should be a link to summer learning. There's lots of opportunity, but in the summer schools where we're launching how we are really trying to build that foundation to grow all of those areas.
One more time, can you tell me your website when we get out of here?
kckps.org. Thank you.